What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel. And holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've just watched the pay per view of the year in professional wrestling. Not only in AEW, but in pro wrestling all year. I don't think you'll find a better show than what we just watched today. Um, man, that was truly special. And it's not only the main event, it's mostly everything that happened on this show that just it blew me away. And my gosh, I could sit here for a very long time and talk about this show, which we probably will do. We're going to be here for a long time breaking everything down, but this was this was a show that I think we'll never forget. And I said that last year at the end of the All In review, and in about a couple hours later, the show was completely forgotten about because of everything that had happened with CM Punk and Jack Perry backstage. The show was completely forgotten about, and that took all the headlines. Um, this, there were so many incredible moments from this show. Obviously, we're going to talk about it all. And obviously, to cap it all off, was Bryan Danielson keeping his career intact and winning the AEW World Championship. That was everything about that was beautiful. The story of that match was beautiful. Everything was perfect, from the match, the in ring, the story they told, Bryan's family in the front row, Adam Page, Swerve, Danielson, the world title, Bryan's career being on the line. Everything about this was damn near perfect, and I was blown away by it, man. And sitting back here realizing that might be my match of the year. That match between Bryan and Swerve, that might end up being my match of the year. It's probably still going to be Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson from Dynasty, but that match was damn near incredible. It was incredible. It wasn't nearly incredible. What an experience it was watching that match. Just the emotions. I got teary-eyed seeing Bryan Danielson come down the ramp for the final countdown, and that was done to perfection. Swerve's entrance made him look like an absolute star. Um, it was, I was blown away, man. I was blown away. So that was excellent. Everything about that was excellent, and everything about the MJF Will Ospreay match was excellent. And I'll tell you this, how you can compare the two matches that they had. If you are a bigger fan of the in-ring wrestling, then their first match on Dynamite, which went 59 minutes, that match was better. As far as in-ring wrestling goes, that match that Ospreay and MJF had on the Dynamite 250 show was better. But as far as the story goes, this match tonight was better, with the crowd. Those guys had the crowd in their palm of their hands, man. The Ospreay's entrance, the crowd went fucking ape shit crazy for Will Ospreay, and he he did it. He won back the international championship from MJF, and everything about this was perfect. To the American Championship, to Ospreay wanting to bring back the International Championship with the brass knuckles that MJF tried to use, with the return of Daniel Garcia. Seems like AEW has locked down Daniel Garcia for a long time. He comes back and he's going right back into a feud with MJF. That's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see what they have in store for that. And so much good stuff happened tonight. And then they blew you away with surprises in the gauntlet match, which, my goodness, there was not a break in that match at all, but that's what it was made for. AEW and Tony Khan, they have struck gold with the concept of this gauntlet match, where it can end at any time, and it could go up to 21 guys, and obviously there wasn't 21 guys in this match, but I think what blew people away about this was not only the surprises, but the winners. The winner, I meant. And we will get to the winner of that gauntlet match and how it ended and what people's reaction of it are and what my reaction of it is. But before we get into the show, let's just talk about the pre-show. And you're like, you barely talk about the pre-show. Why bring it up now? Because this pre-show was very newsworthy. And this was pretty big, as there were two big announcements by AEW on the pre-show. And the first announcement was, the rumor is true, AEW, according to the Carrier Mail in Australia, in Brisbane, Australia, AEW is running a stadium show, Suncorp Stadium, which holds 52,000 people, in Australia for AEW Grand Slam, Saturday, February 15th. So that is a huge deal. And then on top of that, you had the announcement of AEW running Forbidden Door in London in 2025. They did not give a venue, but AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to be running Forbidden Door in London, England in the year 2025. Where are they going to run where are they going to run the show? I don't think it's going to be Wembley Stadium. I think they could run it. They could obviously do the O2 Arena. They could do the OVO Arena. Or I think they're going to run that show is Craven Cottage. And for those of you that don't know, Craven Cottage is where Fulham Soccer plays their soccer games. And Tony Khan is the owner of Fulham, that soccer team. And I can easily see Tony Khan running that Forbidden Door show at Craven Cottage on August the 24th of next year. Now, what's the capacity of that arena? It holds 30,000 people. It holds 30,000 people in there, and I think they can sell that out. If they run Forbidden Door at Craven Cottage, I personally believe they can sell out that arena. Now, why I don't think they're going back to Wembley Stadium is because WWE can be going to Wembley Stadium for SummerSlam. And there's a possibility that WWE is going to run Wembley Stadium, and I think the two possibilities of that is going to be either SummerSlam in 2025 or WrestleMania 42 after the WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. I think personally they're going to run SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium. I would love for it to be WrestleMania, but I personally believe at the end of the day they're going to end up running SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium 2025. So I think WWE is going to be at Wembley Stadium. AEW for Forbidden Door, if I had to guess, they're going to be at Craven Cottage. That's going to be my prediction for where the Forbidden Door show is going to be. But AEW is setting themselves up big, going global in 2025, where they're running a stadium show in Australia in February. They're running All in Arlington, Texas Ranger Stadium, July 12th. And then they're running Forbidden Door in London next year. So those are some massive announcements by AEW. And the crowd went nuts when the Forbidden Door show got announced. So that's a pretty big deal for those people over there, because they barely get any wrestling that time of year, and now they're getting another AEW show coming their way next year. And then the big announcement was the other thing that happened was the return of Jamie Hayter. And I'm a little bit shocked that this happened on the pre-show, but Jamie Hayter, she interrupted Saraya, and Saraya came out with her family and Harley Cameron. She's like, "This is my Wembley moment. Nobody is going to stop me." And she said, "I'm the best British female wrestler in the world." And out came Jamie Hayter to stop that. And, Jamie Hayter, she took out Saraya, she took out Harley Cameron, and she got her Wembley moment. She got her Wembley moment this year. So, good for Jamie Hayter on that. I'm so happy that she's back. The boost that the women's division gets now with Jamie Hayter, I think Jamie Hayter is the perfect person to take the AEW Women's Championship next. So, this is where the show kicks off. And the first match we had was the Fatal 4-Way ladder match for the Trios titles. This was the House of Black, the Bang Bang Gang, the team of Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac, and the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus. Claudio came out with his newly won CMLL Grand Prix trophy, which he won this weekend in Mexico. So he competed at Cardiff against Okada, and he had a 6-man tag in Collision. He went to Mexico and won the Grand Prix trophy, and then he had this match at All In. So this match started as the pay-per-view went on the air, and Christian Cage ran away into the backstage area immediately. Pac going crazy already in this match. This crowd absolutely loved Pac. There was bodies flying everywhere. A moonsault from Malachi Black, a suicide dive from Wheeler Yuta. Then Pac hit a beautiful corkscrew onto everybody on the top rope, and Wembley was going insane for Pac. Then, this was later in the match, Christian Cage comes back from the backstage. He tries to climb up and grab the Trios titles, and he is confronting Luchasaurus because he's like, no, I got this. And Brody King comes from behind, and he grabs Christian Cage, and Christian Cage is on the outside with everybody surrounding him, and there are 9 guys going after and trying to get revenge on Christian Cage. So now there's 2 tables set up on the outside, and Nick Wayne ends up hitting a Wayne's World onto Brody King. I thought Nick Wayne stood out in this match, man. Nick Wayne put on a good showing in this 4-way ladder match. Just had to be, I could imagine how nervous he was going into this match. 19 years old, wrestling in a huge, gigantic stadium like this. He had to be extremely nervous going into this match, this big ladder match. And then later on, he hit a Canadian Destroyer onto Malachi Black through a table, going absolutely insane in that match. The Guns are on top of Claudio and Brody King. 1 gun on Claudio, 1 gun on Brody King. There are 2 tables, 1 on each side, and Brody King and Claudio end up putting the Guns through the table. But Juice Robinson, he looks to grab the trios titles. Even though the Guns are knocked out, Juice Robinson is still up, and Christian Cage sees him, and Juice Robinson lands right on the top rope. Ouch. Effing ouch. Christian Cage then hits Pac with a steel chair and a kill switch on the steel chair as well. Luchasaurus, he's in the ring. Crowd starts chanting Luchasaurus, Luchasaurus, as he grabs Christian Cage, puts him on top of him, and they climb up to the ladder together until Pac meets both of them on the top. Pac knocks down Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, and Pac gets his Wembley moment. He grabs the trios title, and that means Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta are your trios champions. And the Patriarchy are no longer the trios champions. And this also means the rumors of the Lucha Bros going to WWE are true. So RIP to the Death Triangle. But this was a cool moment. This was an awesome match. Just an awesome match to kick off the show. Might have honestly been the best opening match to an AEW pay-per-view all year, man. Those 12 guys, they put their bodies on the line for that match. That was probably one of the better ladder matches that I've seen in a long time. Better than both Money in the Bank ladder matches. I would say it was better. The Forbidden Door ladder match was really fun, but I would say this was even better. So, congratulations to Pac for getting his Wembley moment, and Jon Moxley's on break. So, Pac filling in for Jon Moxley, I guess, as the Blackpool Bastard Club are the new AEW Trios champions. We then go from the Trios titles to the women's title. And I'm like, this is interesting. This is one of your better stories of the entire year. And you're putting this on second. That's a head scratcher. I'm glad they did. Because if this match was on later in the show, the crowd would have been dead for this match. This crowd was up and alive for this match. While the other match in the women's division, oof. But this is Mariah May and Toni Storm for the women's championship. Tony kicking the face of Mariah while Mariah's down. This match was crazy, yo. This honestly might have been better than the opening match. These women went insane. This was a fantastic match. I tweeted it out. I'm like, I would still give the best women's match of the year to Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. This was second, though. This was second best to that. This match was truly fantastic, in my opinion. Mariah May with a sunset powerbomb to Toni Storm on the outside. You hear the big thud and the crowd oohs and ahs, and man, that was insane. Mariah, after taking care of some business on the outside, goes over to Nigel McGuinness and gives him a kiss on the forehead. So Nigel gets a kiss on the forehead, going crazy. She then spits in the face of Luther and then gave him a missile drop kick into the barricade. But then this was the craziest part of the match. She goes in, she sees her mom sitting on the ringside, and she slaps her mom right in the face. And like, she didn't pull back on this. She full on slapped her mom in the face. Like, damn, who in the hell would do that to their mother? But that was crazy. But then Toni Storm later on, they are fighting on the outside, and she gives Mariah the Storm Zero pile driver onto the ring steps, and she goes over to Mrs. May, and she gives her a hug to make sure that she is okay, and raise her arm up. Mariah May comes out of this, and she's bleeding. So for the first time all night, ladies and gentlemen, we've got blood. Mariah and Toni, they are exchanging forearms back and forth, slapping each other in the face, and then they then give each other low blows and then a headbutt. They both collapse, and this London crowd starts standing on their feet, chanting, "This is awesome, this is awesome," as it was. And the ending of this match was Mariah Toni looking for a Storm Zero, and Mariah hit 3 hip attacks, and then she went for a 4th one, and Toni got clotheslined. She clotheslined Toni, and then Toni hit the Storm Zero after her hip attack. Mariah kicked out. Mariah ended up hitting a Storm Zero, and she pinned Toni Storm. So the reign of Toni Storm is over. And I will say the second half of her reign as women's champion was much better than her first. And overall, it made it a fine reign as the women's champion, but this was absolutely the right move. This continues the feud after the pay-per-view. Toni Storm dancing on the aisleway, getting her moment after the match with the crowd. She's no longer the women's champion, but she's a made woman in AEW with this whole gimmick and how much people love it. And if you had not given Mariah May the win here, you would have damaged her with her. You would have damaged her momentum all the way. You give Mariah May the loss here, and she's done. Not done, but all her momentum is gone. So this was the right move, and I do believe that this feud between Toni Storm and Mariah May is going to continue. And I believe the best line, as said on the commentary, that she was not able to kill what she created. So clearly, this feud is still going to continue. And if there is a person to take the women's championship off of Mariah May, I think it's Jamie Hayter. Get Jamie Hayter back in the women's division picture, in the women's championship picture, and give her the damn title. We then went to Hook and Chris Jericho for the FTW Championship. Jericho sung himself to the ring with a pretty cool entrance. This was FTW rules. I really didn't care about this match at all. However, the ending was pretty damn cool. So they have a table set up on the outside of the ring, and they have a sheet of barbed wire on it. And by the way, shout out to Big Bill. He was over as hell in Cardiff, and he was over as hell tonight in the UK. The UK loves Big Bill, and I really hope that transitions over to America, because Big Bill is awesome. He should turn babyface and get a push. That man is incredible. But the ending of this match was Big Bill going through the table onto barbed wire. Bryan Keith is still up. And I lost my train of thought. Taz gets off the commentary table, and he goes to put Bryan Keith in a Taz mission, and the crowd went apeshit for it. And then in the ring, Hook puts in the red rum, and Jericho taps. Hook gets back the FTW Championship. Good. And now what we need to do is Hook needs to retire the FTW Championship, because Hook has been in the same cycle for the last 3 years now, and he is above the FTW Championship. He needs to retire the title, because the title's not even recognized, and we need to move on with Hook as the FTW Champion. Maybe you can recycle back to Hook feuding with Jack Perry. I think that could be a pretty interesting storyline towards the end of the year for AEW, because let's be real, if Hook stays in this format with the FTW Championship, I don't really think anybody's going to give a shit about Hook. So we need to move on from the FTW Championship. And what I would do with Hook, if you want to put a championship on him, put the TNT title on him and make him the guy to beat Jack Perry. They can do it at Full Gear. They can do it at World's End. I don't care what show it is. But that's what I would do with Hook. I would continue the momentum that he's got. I would have him retire the FTW Championship. And by the end of this year, I would make Hook the guy to beat Jack Perry for the TNT Championship. From that, we go to the Young Bucks, the FTR, and the Acclaimed. And for the people that still want to say the Acclaimed are not as over as they were, listen to the reaction they got for their entrance. Listen to everybody singing "Oh Scissor Me Daddy." They are still over as fuck. They're still over. Match will go from here. Bowens is in the ring with Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson going. He's on fire. Elbows, clotheslines. He hits the Famouser onto Matt Jackson. Crowd going crazy for Anthony Bowens here. He's then in the ring with Nick Jackson, and he gives him a super kick. Then, later on in the match, we have Max Caster doing maneuvers with other members in this match, not Anthony Bowens. Him and Matt Jackson hit the EVP trigger onto Dax Harwood, and then him and Cash Wheeler hit the Shatter Machine onto Matt Jackson until he gets tossed from outside of the ring, and the EVPs are in the ring with Dax Harwood after he gets the EVP trigger from Max Caster and Matt Jackson. They pump up their shoes, which I think looks so fucking stupid. I really do. And they give Dax a double super kick to the face. And Dax kicks out, but they hit the EVP trigger. 1, 2, 3. The Young Bucks retain the AEW Tag Team Championships. But then after the match, I thought the way they did this was a bit underwhelming. The grizzled young veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson, come through the crowd to confront the Young Bucks, and they then take out FTR. And they lay waste to FTR. They got somewhat of a reaction, but by the end of it, it felt really underwhelming. And I'm like, I don't know what to make of that. But it looks like that AEW has a new tag team in James Drake and Zach Gibson, the grizzled young veterans, and it looks like they're either feuding with FTR or they're having a match with the Young Bucks soon. I don't know, but they're definitely not the team to take the tag team titles off of the Young Bucks. I think the tag team that should beat the Young Bucks is Dante and Darius Martin. And why do I say that? Why do I say them out of all teams? Is because they're kind of building up their momentum back, right? They kind of got this faction. They got Layla Gray in the mix as the pilot. They got Leo Rush now. I think with both of them healthy as they are, if you want to push them in the tag team title scene and have them win against the Young Bucks, I think the time is now. You obviously don't have to do it this year. The Bucks can hold on to the titles for as long as they want. I personally don't care. But I think for when the time is right, that's when you go ahead and you pull the trigger. But I thought this match, it was good. It was a very good match. But, you know, what can you expect when you've seen these teams fight each other so many times? Which also, I mean, as underwhelming as it was, it will be cool to see the grizzled young veterans in there because we haven't seen them a lot in AEW. And the last time we saw them in wrestling in general, they had a shitty gimmick in NXT with Joe Gacy. So hopefully, they are in better use here in AEW. Alright, let's talk about this. The gauntlet match. The Casino Gauntlet. Where the winner would get a shot at the AEW World Championship anytime they won. Orange Cassidy was the first guy in this match, coming out at number 1. And number 2 was the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. And number 3, this was honestly one of the biggest surprises of the entire night. Number 3 was Nigel McGuinness. Nigel McGuinness comes out of retirement in his home country, in London, England, and in Wembley Stadium. This guy battled through so many neck injuries in Ring of Honor. This moment for him must have been surreal. The crowd was going apeshit bananas for Nigel McGuinness when he came out. This was fucking crazy. And he's going at it with Kazuchika Okada. How awesome for Nigel McGuinness. And when I saw this, I'm like, I wouldn't mind it if Nigel McGuinness wins this match just so we get a match out of him versus Bryan Danielson. But, spoiler alert, Nigel McGuinness did not win this match. Up next, we had Kyle O'Reilly. We had Okada and Nigel in the ring first. Nigel rolling around, countering moves from Okada, gave him a leapfrog, gave him an arm drag, a couple slaps to the face. So these guys working well together. The crowd is loving every moment of this. And Okada whips him to the corner. Nigel whips him back, and Nigel does a standing handstand on the ropes. Okada gets him in a body slam position. Nigel then gives him a pump kick. So at number 4, we had Kyle O'Reilly. And number 5, we had your winner of the G1 Climax Tournament, once again from England, Zack Sabre Jr. So this crowd went amazing. They went apeshit for Zack Sabre Jr., so he was next in this match. I believe right next after this was Roderick Strong. If I'm not mistaken, then we had Mark Briscoe. But we had a face-off between Zack Sabre Jr. and Nigel McGuinness. And during this, we got a British wrestling chant with those guys standing off face-to-face. This crowd at Wembley started chanting British wrestling, which is a beautiful thing. Shout out to this crowd. They were on fire all night long, as expected, though. So they're exchanging elbows and back to each other. McGuinness and Zack Sabre Jr. Bunch of submission holds. And then at number 6, or not number 6. Number 6 was Roderick Strong and then Mark Briscoe. But after Mark Briscoe, we had Hangman Adam Page. And this man is on a rampage. The only reason he's in this match is to potentially have a match against Swerve Strickland. And he is marching down this ring. And he takes out Kyle O'Reilly. He takes out Nigel McGuinness. And next up after this is Jeff Jarrett. And I'm not kidding you, Jeff Jarrett got one of the biggest pops of the entire night. London loves some Jeff Jarrett. So after Jarrett takes out, Page takes out Jarrett, he threatens Karen Jarrett, and as we get to the countdown, the next person to come out after Jeff Jarrett, Ricochet. Ricochet makes his AEW debut. Crowd gave him a massive ovation. Got in the ring. He's already hitting springboard clotheslines, springboard dive. He did a shooting star press onto everybody on the outside. Zack Sabre Jr., Nigel McGuinness, Okada. Nigel hit a Tower of London. By the way, Ricochet in AEW, it's a much better fit. And I think with the rumors of Ricky Starks going to WWE as well when his contract's up, it's a fair trade. You could look at it as a trade, but Ricochet, he's going to fit better in AEW the way he wrestles, his high flying style. He's going to fit better in AEW. Whilst you look at Ricky Starks is going to fit better in WWE. And I think Ricochet in AEW, there's so many dream matches for him to have, with obviously the top one being Will Ospreay. They have to run it back. Right. At some point, don't you think they have to run it back? But I don't know. He's going to be just fine. He is going to be just fine. So, Ricochet, he hit a Pele kick onto Kyle O'Reilly. Springboard clothesline into the ring on Kyle O'Reilly. Nice bump by him. Roderick Strong on the top rope. A pump kick from Ricochet. And this is where he hits his shooting star press onto everybody on the outside. Next up in this match, Christian Cage. Yep. Already wrestled in the night. Lost the trios titles. But Christian Cage slithers his way into this match. And Hangman is face to face with Okada because Hangman had a cover in on Ricochet, and Okada just kicked him straight in the head. And Hangman takes out Okada, and he's going for buckshot, and Karen Jarrett walks over, and I said it in my predictions video that Jeff Jarrett is in this match to make sure Hangman Page does not win. And Hangman Page gets cracked over the head by a guitar by Jeff Jarrett, and that was the last we saw Hangman Page in this match. And then at the last entrant in this match was Luchasaurus. And as Christian was in the ring with Kyle O'Reilly, Luchasaurus music hits. Crowd is going crazy for him. Thunderous chants of Luchasaurus. Christian's like, what are you doing in here? Luchasaurus has a choke slam position on one hand to Christian. And he looks over, and Kyle O'Reilly is standing right there, and he choke slams Kyle O'Reilly instead. He puts Christian Cage on top, and Christian Cage, nobody expected this at all, but Christian Cage wins the Casino Gauntlet. Christian Cage has a match for the AEW World Championship. Now you look at the World Championship picture. Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin's Oda World title match, and Christian Cage. So my guess would be that it's Bryan Danielson versus Christian Cage at All Out. That has to be the match. That's got to be the match for the World Championship at All Out. Bryan Danielson versus Christian Cage. But man, that match was incredible. They have struck gold with that Casino Gauntlet match. But the ending of that match is what people are questioning about. The ending did feel flat a little bit. But you were shocked, and I was shocked. And for that, I thought it was a good ending. You could have been shockingly disappointed, but you were shocked. And that was the reaction they wanted. I had Ricochet winning this match. I thought it would have been good to give him a World Championship match out of the picture. I'm fine with them not doing it, though. But this is not going to lead to Christian Cage winning the World Championship. No. This is going to lead to Luchasaurus pulling the trigger and turning on Christian Cage. That's what this is leading towards. All right, let's dive into this. The American Championship. Will Ospreay got... There was a lot of great entrances tonight. Will Ospreay, Mercedes, Bryan Danielson, Swerve. I think this was the best one out of them all, though. This Will Ospreay entrance was breathtaking. In front of his home crowd, the crowd sang his song. Like the crowd at France sang Randy Orton's song. You never hear crowds in America singing Will Ospreay's song like this. Besides when they go, Ospreay, Ospreay. But this was insane. This was insane. MJF came out all patriotic up. He wore an American hat. He had the American robe on. And, of course, his American championship. But Ospreay, very early in the match, hit a Sasuke special, which is his handstand into a dive. MJF then was able to get a hold of Ospreay. He was able to take control of the match. And he teased the crowd by starting this for the kangaroo kick. And he was successfully able to hit the kangaroo kick here on Will Ospreay. He shakes the rope, and Will Ospreay, the crowd boos MJF. MJF then went for the Heat Seeker. Will Ospreay threw MJF across the ring, and he hit a phenomenal forearm, which looked beautiful, on MJF. And then, moments later, Ospreay went for the same move, the Sasuke special, the dive on the outside, but this time, MJF had it scouted. MJF caught Will Ospreay and gave him a tombstone pile driver onto the outside floor. Ouch. That looked brutal. That looked so brutal. And he then said, anybody can do a fucking flip. You're not special. He then tends to do a flip. He misses. He runs towards Ospreay, and Ospreay hits him with a Spanish fly outside the ring. He then throws him in the ring, gets him on the top rope. Ospreay goes on the top rope, and he hits a front flip, a 450 splash onto MJF, who is leaning over the top rope. MJF bounced off the ropes like a basketball, and that's what made the spot so damn cool looking in that instance. The shooting star press, my fault, my bad. MJF, then he hit a Panama Sunrise on the apron with Will Ospreay bouncing off the apron like a basketball, just like MJF did with the shooting star. And what was so painfully annoying throughout this match, and then the whole show, I saw a picture on social media, and somebody at the show tweeted out, AEW did not think this one through. Damaged the vision a little bit. but they did the streamers for MJF's American entrance, and the streamers got caught up into the stage. So some of the streamers were stuck up on there all night, and it was painful. It was a little eyesore to look. I was like, why are those fucking streamers sitting up there? But then Ospreay, once again, they're on the outside, and MJF is standing in front of the cameraman, and Ospreay goes for a super hidden blade onto MJF, and MJF moves, and MJF hits the cameraman. He hits the cameraman with hidden blade, and the crowd starts chanting, "Holy shit, holy shit." But then MJF, there's a ref bump. Ospreay goes for the Tiger Driver. MJF reverses it, and he goes low. And then he goes for brass knuckles. And there's a guy dressed up in all black, and he's got a black mask on, by the name of Daniel Garcia. And Daniel Garcia was taken out by MJF. MJF gave him a pile driver off the second rope, and MJF looked like he saw a ghost when he stared at the eyes of Daniel Garcia. He got up. He got hit in the face by a hidden blade, and he's got MJF in the position for the Tiger Driver, and he looks over at Daniel Garcia, and he screams out, "Tiger Driver!" And he fucking did it. He hit the Tiger Driver on MJF, and Will Ospreay defeats MJF. The ref hands over him the American Championship. He's like, no. I don't want that championship. And Christopher Daniels comes in the ring. He unveils the International Championship to Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay is once again your international champion for a second time. And this was awesome. That's what I'll say. The story of this match was phenomenal. And again, I'll say this again. If you prefer in-ring wrestling, the better match was Dynamite 250. If you prefer the storytelling with the international title, MJF's American title, the Tiger Driver, Daniel Garcia, then this match was better. I love it. I absolutely love it. I loved both matches. And now, their feud's over, and another one begins. We continue the feud between Daniel Garcia and MJF, and that's probably all but confirmed going to happen at All Out. And a report from PW Insider after the show is the fact that Daniel Garcia's contract is up in October, and him and AEW have not reached an agreement yet. So, I don't know what's happening, but if Daniel Garcia doesn't resign with AEW, obviously MJF's going to beat him. But if Daniel Garcia ends up re-signing with AEW, he needs to win this feud with MJF. And I don't know what's going to happen with him, to be honest with you. I don't know what his decision's going to be, but He's back, and he's feuding with one of the biggest stars in AEW, and this is something that I'm really excited about in AEW post All In. So after this, we had Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné, and very unfortunately, they were put in a bad spot. And if this was Mariah May and Toni Storm, they wouldn't have had the match they did earlier. And I would say, out of all the matches on the show, this was the weakest. This was the weakest match out of them all. And this was the weakest match out of them all. Mercedes retained the TBS Championship. There's no heat. The build going into this was not good. And what they needed to do was deliver here tonight, and they did not. Unfortunately, they were put in a bad spot. They had the gauntlet match, which was insane, and then they had the MJF match, and that was that. This was the bad spot to put them in. But what are you going to do? But Mercedes retains, and that's literally it. Just trying to check a few notes from the medium scrum. I don't see anything of notice right now, but yeah, I don't see anything of notice. I don't really have much to go over with that Britt Baker Mercedes match. So, let's go into the coffin match for the TNT Championship. Darby Allin challenging Jack Perry, and they jammed it down your throat leading up to this build. Like 2 weeks before the show, they announced that this was going to be a coffin match. And ever since then, they jammed it down your throat that Darby Allin has not lost a coffin match in AEW. He's undefeated in coffin matches. He won in a coffin match last year at All In. So to me, they made it painfully obvious that Darby Allin was not going to win this match. Jack Perry was going to retain the championship. And that's exactly what happened. And it's the right choice because Darby has a match for the World Championship coming up. But let's talk about this match, shall we? The casket is standing up. Darby Allin is slapping the shit out of Jack Perry. Darby Allin looks for a suicide dive on the outside. Jack Perry moves, and Darby goes crashing into the casket on the outside. Jack Perry is smiling from ear to ear. Jack Perry brings in glass, and the crowd goes fucking crazy when he brings in glass because of what happened last year and the real glass Crimean River moment, and there were a ton of fuck CM Punk chants in London, England. So Jack took a back body drop onto the glass by Darby Allin, and then Darby hit the skateboard on the back of Jack Perry with Jack's stomach going straight into the broken glass. Then Jack Perry has his hands tied up. He has Darby's hands tied up and he has his legs tied up with Darby's belt, and he throws him off the stage. Darby goes crashing through 2 tables, and he drags him back, and he puts him in the casket. This was a very short match, but it was violent. And that's what it had to be. It had to be violent. And after the match, Jack Perry brings out the Young Bucks to try and burn Darby Allin once and for all. They pour gasoline on the casket. They pour gasoline in the body bag. And Jack Perry has the match. He smiles at the camera. And the lights go out. The crowd is about to lose their minds. Because who's making their return for a one-time appearance? None other than the icon Sting. Sting comes out with the baseball bat. He goes after the Young Bucks. Jack Perry hits him in the back with a steel chair. And Jack Perry immediately gets the fuck out of the ring. And then Sting hits a scorpion death drop on both of the Young Bucks. Jack Perry runs out of the ring. And that's a cool moment. Sting comes back for All In. And even though Jack Perry retains, or even though Darby Allin loses his first coffin match, he gets to have that moment with Sting in Wembley Stadium. Alright, here we go. The main event. Bryan Danielson, Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. Title versus career. Bryan hits a sunset flip early in the match onto the outside, starts the yes chant, and he does it in front of his kids, the yes chant. He hits the Ring of Honor dive, it's called, onto the outside, starts doing the yes chant in front of his family. They are then fighting on the apron. Prince Nana slides in the ring bell, and Swerve Strickland hits the Death Valley driver onto the ring bell and the apron on Bryan Danielson. Yikes. So Bryan was selling his neck for most of this match, and from that spot forward, Bryan Danielson was bleeding buckets. He had blood streaming down his face, and instead of Swerve stomping his head inside the ring, he drags him to the outside of the ring instead, and he stomps his head in front of his family, and he says, "You want your daddy home with you? I'm gonna give it to you." And his daughter Birdie is in tears with Bree holding Swerve, with Bree holding Birdie. But he made her cry. And he goes on the top rope for the Swerve stomp. But Danielson keeps fighting. And he gets him to the top rope. And he hits him with a super tiger suplex off the top rope to the mat. Was an insane spot. And he then goes in and he said, "I'm gonna kick his fucking head in." And that's what he does. And then he hits him. He puts in the cattle mutilation. But Swerve escapes, and he's able to hit him with the Phantom Driver. I think it's called. Not the Phantom Driver. Some pile driver. Which he hits the cop killer. That's what it's called. I'm reading off of Twitter, and they said it's called the cop killer. So, they immediately get doctors in there, and Swerve pushes off the doctor. Bryan's fighting back, and I honestly think this was the best spot of the whole match. After the three house calls, Bryan kicks out. And Swerve then starts to give him yes kicks. And after each kick, after the third house call, he was reaching for his family. And the commentary team, they sold this so well. They were like, just pin him already. But Bryan kicked out. And he then Swerve hit the yes kicks, and every time Bryan started standing up, and he looked at his family, and he shouted, "I love you so much!" After every kick, pointing at his daughter, "I love you so much. I love you so much." And this fired Bryan up. This fired him up. And he went for the running knee, but once again, Swerve got him with a house call, and Swerve went for the Phantom Driver called Big Pressure, and Bryan kicked out. Bryan is the first person in AEW to kick out of the Phantom Driver. And then Swerve, he goes to the top rope to try to hit the Swerve Stomp to end the match. But who comes out? And this is what I'm telling you with the masterful story that they've told in this match. Who was a part of this match? Hangman Page. Getting his revenge on Swerve. Hangman Page shoves Prince Nana and a bunch of security. They come over and they swarm Hangman Page outside of the ringside area, and he's taking out all these security members beforehand. And Swerve turns around and he eats a running knee from Danielson into the label lock. And as Swerve, he's getting ready to tap out, but he's trying to grab at Danielson. Danielson grabs his hand immediately, and he hits the rings of Saturn. Swerve Strickland he taps out. Bryan Danielson's the new world champion. The Blackpool Combat Club come out. They celebrate with Bryan's family. They showed people crying at Wembley Stadium over this moment. This was an unbelievable scene. This was just like Cody Rhodes finishing the story at WrestleMania. This might have been better, though. And Bryan Danielson is your new AEW World Champion. Unbelievable stuff, man. Unbelievable. But I'm getting out of here. What an incredible show. This was the best pay-per-view of the year so far, and I don't think anything else is beating it. What an unforgettable show. All in. We're going to be talking about it forever. But I'm signing off. What a podcast. Gave you guys over an hour of breakdown analysis for the pay-per-view. I'm heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Fuel channel if you haven't already. Subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on the pay-per-view. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter at Colin_Joseph. And I'll see you guys in the next video on Tuesday. Have a good one. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And as always, love wrestling. Professional wrestling is the fucking best.